scammer, or stalker. Sometimes the line is very thin. We all know scammers can be a pain, telling you stories with their fake profiles, leading you on with romantic gestures and promises of a happy, loving future together. Trying to romance their victims with stolen photos until that victim sends money, gift cards, and more. Sometimes, though, there are scammers who take things to a whole other level. They stalk their victims, harass them, and sometimes make the victim's life a living hell. We take a look at this type of scammer and what you should do if you find yourself in this situation. Most times scammers who use fake profiles will vanish after they get what they want from the victim, deleting their fake profile and moving on to a new persona online and a new victim. This usually is the truth in around 95% of the scammers who use fake profiles to talk to victims. They want that fast cash and then they go away. However, the other 5% can turn things into a nightmare, stalking a victim and even sometimes driving that victim to the edge. There are a few reasons behind why a scammer turns into a stalker, and some of the reasons being: 1. They spoke to their victim for many weeks or months, thinking they were going to get money and gift cards from the victim, romancing them, spending time, effort, and energy into the scam relationship, only for that target victim to tell them no and block them. The scammer feels they've wasted their time and energy on a sure thing, only for their perfect plan to fall to pieces. The scammer becomes angry at the wasted time and starts to harass the victim. Another reason, number 2. The victims found out that they are being scammed after a long relationship, and after weeks or months of sending the scammer money, then finding out the truth and ending the relationship, the victim then exposed the scammer, telling them off before blocking them. Scammers hate being told that they are scammers. If they had a sure thing and were receiving money on a regular basis, only to have that money train cut off by the victim, some scammers become enraged and begin to make threats to the victim, stalking them. To the scammer, it's like being fired from their job and losing their paycheck. Number 3, some scammers, just like any other people in the world, might be mentally unwell or depraved. They feel this desire to harass and stalk and scare victims online. They feel this power and love to instill fear into a victim. Some scammers take pleasure in making victims live in fear. These type of scammers are usually the worst kind to deal with, as they have some very sick and disturbed minds. And number 4, finally, some scammers send threats to victims out of desperation. They've tried to be sweet and loving and have gotten no money or gift cards, etc. So in a last-ditch effort to get something out of the victim, they try sending threats to scare the victim into sending money. When the scammers do this, they are absolutely desperate and wanting that money or gift cards. What are some things scammers who stalk victims might try and do? Most times they send threats. They tell the victim they are going to send nude pictures of the victim to their friends and family. And sometimes the victim never even sent nude photos, and the scammer will just Photoshop them onto a nude body and send them out. The scammer might share the victim's phone number in scammer-run groups and ask their friends to call and harass this person. The same goes for your email, messenger information, and social media. The scammer might make many fake profiles and begin harassing the victim by sending friend requests, messages to the victim, and tell them they will get them, or send other harassing messages. Sometimes those scammers take things a bit further. The scammer, if he has your personal information, such as your home address, phone number, etc., will send photos of your home, which they most likely obtained off of Google Earth or another mapping service online. You'd be surprised how much information is out there on all of us, including photos of our homes. They will tell the victim that they are at their door and coming to harm them, then send the victim a photo of their own home, that they're in their neighborhood, and begin to describe landmarks to the victim's neighborhood, such as a corner store or photos of your neighbor's home or even your yard, etc. All of these would be obtained through an online search site such as Google Earth, as public information and photos of your home are easily available. We've seen cases where scammers who knew a victim for a long period of time and the victim shared their personal family information during the relationship, the scammer then took that info and used it against them, going as far as sending photos of their children's school, telling the victim they will harm their kids and family, etc., taking photos of where your work is at, finding them off the internet, and sharing them with you. Scammers have called the victims work, family members, and friend of the family and friends online, and more. Remember, tiny bits of information that you give to someone online can lead to a lot of information for a scammer. Something as simple as your phone number, your email, your name, and your hometown can lead a scammer, or anyone really on the internet, to a whole world of personal information, including things you don't think of, such as your workplace, grocery store loyalty card information, where you shop, and more. So what should you do if a fake profile you spoke to or were in a relationship with online turned out to be a scammer who's now stalking you? First thing, remain calm. As corny as that sounds, you need to keep in mind that the scammer is sending threats to scare you. A large majority of these scammers who do romance scams with fake profiles are not living or working in your country. They are likely thousands of miles, a 15-hour plus flight away from you in another country. They are very unlikely to have the ability to leave their country. If they're online begging for iTunes cards from you, they're not able to hop on a plane and fly 15 hours to your home. And while yes, some scammers have family and connections in the US, the UK, and more, it's extremely rare, and in all the years we've been dealing with scammers sending threats to victims, not a single victim was harmed or came face to face with the scammer or the scammer's family, friends, or coworkers. Some first steps you need to take are silent ones. Do not respond to a scammer's threats, even if the threats are extremely disturbing. While it might be a knee-jerk reaction to tell the scammer to leave you alone or tell the scammer off or even make threats to the scammer yourself, silence is best. Some scammers absolutely thrive on getting a reaction out of a victim. Some even take sick pleasure out of having a victim respond. Do not respond to any messages or emails from your scammer. If possible, don't open the messages from them or emails, as sometimes some programs show the scammer you've read it. Block, block, and block again. When you get a nasty message or email from a scammer or a threatening phone call, block them. If it's an email, mark it as spam. A phone call, block the number. Get something on Messenger from social media, block the profile. Report it if you want to. Remove any apps you used while in an online relationship with this person. If the scammer had you download WhatsApp or Hangouts or Viber, log out of it and delete the apps from your device. While it's likely the scammer will come back with a new profile, email, or phone number, and as draining as it might be, continue to block and ignore. Scammers typically don't continue if they don't get a reaction. They don't waste their time. They'll move on to another victim. Let your friends, family, and coworkers, etc. know you're being stalked. While you don't have to tell them you were in an online romance scam relationship, if you feel you don't want them to know that, do let them know that someone is stalking you online. Encourage your loved ones to also block the person's profile online. If possible, make them aware of their information, such as the email and phone numbers, so in the event that they start harassing your loved ones, they are aware and they can be vigilant to block as well, and it won't come as a surprise if they receive threats, photos, or something from the scammer. If the stalking gets to a point where blocking is not working and the scammer keeps making more fake profiles, you might want to deactivate your social media for a short time. Sites like Facebook give you the option to deactivate your profile and then reactivate it when you are ready to return without losing any of your photos, memories, timeline posts, etc. When you do reactivate, consider changing your profile picture to something that doesn't immediately identify you, such as a photo of an object or a background or your dog. Use your wallpaper photo of a state and country that you don't live in. Also consider changing your name on social media. For example, if your name is Barbara Ann Jones, maybe change it to Barb Jones or Ann Jones. Make sure your profile is set to private so only friends can see your photos, posts, etc. Change your About section where it tells where you are living. Change the location you're living in, even if you haven't moved. Sometimes that can help throw off a scammer in some cases. You might want to change your number. If the phone calls keep coming in, and also there are apps where you can set it to block free voicemail numbers, which are typically used by many scammers. Your phone may also have a setting where only numbers in your address book can ring through and the rest are restricted. There are tons of free apps online that also block unknown callers. Change your email address. While many of us have had our email addresses for years, or like myself, even decades, if the mail starts flooding in from a scammer, you might want to change your email. Stop using your current email, even if it's just a temporary situation, so that you don't have to see these threats coming in. If the threats are graphic or you feel you're in danger, it's always a good idea to file a police report so there's a paper trail in the event that something might happen. At the end of the day, you need to keep in mind most of these scammers are stuck in their respective countries. They're desperate criminals who take pleasure in scaring victims. You have the upper hand. Blocking, ignoring, and taking a break from social media are some of the most powerful tools you can use. These are just a few tips to stay safe. Keep in mind, scammers who stalk victims are all different. Some are more dangerous than others, and not every situation is cut and dry like the ones mentioned above. However, don't give a scammer who's stalking you any power. Remain calm. And remember, a lot of the information they are sending you, such as your address and your photos of your home, are easily found online. They don't have some special powers, and they're certainly not at your door. They are sitting behind a phone or a computer trying to fill you with fear. Don't let them have that power. Stay safe.